This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
It's a goal! What a goal! It's absolutely world class from Marcus Tunde!
Johnson puts it in the air. Aidan Flynn wins the goal! It's the goal! It's still with Lee Gregory. He's in the box. Tries to screw him. Is it going to be there? Yes! Oh my word!
Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Wednesday Week. My name's Dan Fudge, and tonight I am joined by Simon, Stevie, and Ash. I've just realised I've got a QR code on the screen, given I was doing so well, and ignore that actually happened. Sheffield Wednesday are hot on the heels of a 1-0 victory away at Deepdale at Preston, a ground that's not been very fruitful for us over the last, I think, decade, which is absolutely frightening. We're also live on Facebook and Twitch, and we've got our man Ash, who's going to be manning the internet comments. Try and be nice. So he's here, look. How's everybody's Christmas? Is everybody still full of cheese and farting loads?
Yeah. What day is it?
Oh man!
Well, we're recording, so it must be Monday, Stephen.
It's got to be Monday. Right?
Well, that's proper mess my drugs up then. Because I'm an old man and I've got one of those things with all my drugs in for a day. And I actually sat this morning on the edge of the bed and went, "Which day are we on to take these drugs?" Not the fact that I take different ones every day.
It's a difficult thing with drugs and bins is the issue that everybody seems to have right now.
I put my drugs out and then ate everything out of the bin. So.
Probably a solid idea. But I don't know if anybody saw, but last night I ended up having about 6 or 7 cans of beer and ended up paying Big John off TikTok 30 quid to shout up the Shagging Wednesdays. So, I'm feeling a bit rough, and you'll notice that if you are watching live on the internet, I've got quite a big light on my face right now just to try and wash away the bosh up that I had last night. So now, where are we? Preston. There we go. Now, Bosh. Preston. Simon, you went to Preston. Tell us about Preston. Was it cold, and was Blackpool Tower on fire?
Blackpool Tower wasn't on fire, although we did actually talk about that the night before, and I was expecting to see some flames, cinders, but no, it was orange netting, wasn't it? Who rang that in? Bet they feel a bit daft now, don't they?
There you are, stood with a load of sticks and marshmallows, ready to go. Nothing.
It was bloody cold, wet, damp, horizontal rain. It was what Blackpool's invented for.
What a day out. So,
I was absolutely hanging from the night out before, where I'd been out with these two lunatics.
Oh yeah, you had all that, didn't you? Christ, yeah. I had to go and do job things. In fact, speaking of job things, today I went sashay. I woke up. I thought, I've got boshed up. I'm just gonna walk into work whenever I feel good and ready. Completely forgotten it was a Saturday. And if anybody works in hospitality, you'll know that Saturday's quite a busy day. And I just completely fucked off work, apparently, thinking it was like a Wednesday or something. So that's nice, isn't it? So tell us about the game. Get into it, Simon. Let's talk about it. But I tell you what, actually, before we do, because you were the one that were representing the podcast last night, Stevie. Last night, I want to kind of know your what your pre-thoughts were. I mean, where we thought we were going to go. It's been a while since we've done it, so we didn't preview this game, did we? So I kind of want to know how you thought we'd fare.
I was a little bit trepidatious because of the previous 2 results, but and plus the track record as well. It's not a happy hunting ground, is it? So it was one of those where you can. Hello.
Sorry, Steve. I was just going to ask: do you take much into previous results at grounds? We've said, we haven't won there for 14 years or whatever. Sorry, I know you were going into it, but I just thought I'd ask.
I do and I don't. It's one of those where I think, if anything, it's ironically we're at the last game or the last podcast of the year, and I don't know about you guys, but I can't remember a year that we've had that's been so batshit crazy as this one. We've gone through the mill a bit, haven't we? So if you go back to January, you think Newcastle, sitting where we were sat, we've gone on a ridiculous run. The history books will write themselves. But if anything, 2023 has taught us is that if there's, I think, as much as anything else, there's been more hold my beer moments watching Sheffield Wednesday in the last 12 months than there's been.
We started
yeah, you know. So it was one of those where typically over the last few weeks, months, or whatever, you're looking at sort of track records and thinking, this is one that could potentially we could end this one. I think the thing for me was we were carrying a few injuries. I think there were 9 before we kicked off.
9 injuries, and Simon was hungover. So
you know, it was just one of those where I kind of thought, if anything that we can get, and I've made my noises about anything we can get on the road is a positive at the moment. We need to be concentrating on our home form. There were a couple of, I won't say abject, I thought we were actually quite good against Cardiff. I thought Coventry was just a game, and I've said this privately, I've said it online as well. If we're sat 7th, 8th, 9th in the league, which I understand that we're not, and we put in that performance against Coventry, it's one of those that we'll look at and we'll say it's an off day. It was just one of those where things didn't work for us. It weren't very good, but you know, you pick yourself up, you dust yourself off, and you move on, sort of thing. But in terms of going into Preston, I thought anything that we could get, you know, would be an absolute bonus.
Sorry, Steve. It was the way you said you pick yourself up and dust yourself off. And in my head, those are the lyrics of Waka Waka, the greatest football song ever written. Pick yourself up and dust yourself off and back in the shadows. People
That's where I got it from.
There is expectation.
Tenuous link with Marvin Johnson, isn't there?
I enjoy it. I absolutely enjoy it. So you're right. I think Coventry was a bit of an off day, and I thought that the big focus this year should have been our form at home. So anything we can pick up on the road is a bit of a bonus. Like I said, don't forget to get involved in the comments if you want to talk about how you felt before this game. But Simon now is going to tell us about his day and about what went off and his day out at the seaside.
I don't think anybody wants to listen to my boring anecdotes about going past Preston to Blackpool to head back again.
Why not? You've been doing it for 4 years on this show.
No, what I normally do is talk about 4 years ago when I went to Preston and then came back. It's not normally about anything that's happened in the latest 12 months. Fuck's sake, Ash. In regards to the question you asked, Steve, what's the point in following a football team if you go, we haven't won there for 10, 12? I've never seen them win at Deepdale. I've never seen them, but you know, at the end of the day, if we said that about every stadium and looked at the history books, like you say, it's been a batshit crazy season, and form is on its arse. It's you look at the form book, you look at how teams have played, and you go, "Oh yeah, we should beat them," and we don't. You know, Cardiff, it was a smash and grab, wasn't it? Coventry, I don't think we knew what we were up against. I thought they were a very good side, although statistics would say 2 shots on goal. So going into Preston, I was like open-minded. Let's just go for it. They came to our place 1-0. Great following, 5,100.
Yeah,
5,100. It was immense. I mean, we sang all the way through. Preston, to say that they've been pushing recently for sort of playoff places on what was the last home game of the year. Not many people turned up. They were all right. Wednesday were better. I think we just threw ourselves on everybody was thrown on the line. People were throwing themselves in for tackles. We look a little bit tired. I think that's why we're getting so many injuries at the moment. It's a lot of games, and I think Danny's been putting them through it. I think off field, we've been really pushing the team to improve and get, basically, it's not exactly the best team in the world, is it? As we all know. And I think we're punching at the moment. I think we're punching, and Danny's got us doing that. And, you know, the great goal, I'm sure you'll talk through the goal, and we held on. Preston huffed and puffed. Referee didn't help. We won. Happy days. Jaegers all round.
We'll come back to that. Ash, you know, right, for the I'll start this entire thing. Now, for those people who know Ash as long as I have now, I'm going to tell you something about Ash here, Steve, and the people at home. When it comes to getting boshed up, he's bloody rubbish the day after. Like like beyond useless, like tits on a broomstick, like chocolate teapot useless. Like, do you know what I mean? And however, Ashley, our pal, has managed to he's found some superhuman power, because when he's on the beer, Smash can absolutely nail him down like nobody's business, right? But then like the day after's rubbish. Now he can do like 3 or 4 days on the beer, can't you, Ash? I mean,
I've evolved, I've aged, and I think I've actually grown up, Dan. I think that's what it is.
So you've evolved. You've gone from Ash to Ashumon.
Yeah.
Pokemon gag there.
Pokemon, yes, mate, yes. I've had a few great days over the last week of football, friends, beer, and too much food. As obviously anyone who sees me can attest to that. So yeah, mate. Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm doing all right, mate. Doing good.
So listen. What were your expectations before Preston Smash? How were you feeling? What was your?
I'm always positive. You guys know that, and everyone who listens and watches and everything positive. But I'm the same as what Stevie was saying. Really, the Cardiff was for me a bit of a kick in the knackers. They did to us what we did to QPR previously. It was no way. I know I'm going back a bit, but I'm building up to it. No way did I think that we were going to lose Cardiff game at all. They didn't offer anything. It weren't the best game, of course, but when we're 1-0 comfortably up and they not really having much of a go, pretty confident. So obviously to lose that at home as well, which we've said, didn't we? We're going to try and where our points are going to come from are going to be at home, and away are going to be bonuses. So I was there. Then Coventry, I went to Coventry myself. Hats off to the Coventry supporters, probably the home supporters, probably the best I've heard a home crowd for a while. They were fantastic, never shut up, and it was a good atmosphere. And it just weren't our day. Exactly what Stevie says. If we were mid-table and we're pushing and getting that sort of result would be, got a bit of a Christmas hangover, bad day at the office. And there were no... And it wasn't for me. I know everyone's got polarizing thoughts on this, but there were no outstandingly bad player against Coventry at all. I don't think you could probably say Bambo for his red card, which was just unforgivable acting like that. But for him actually, go on, Stevie.
I was just going to say, to be fair, that's probably one of the best games he's had before he got sent off.
Yeah. It weren't. I was only saying it. Yeah, exactly for that. But it wasn't as in, we've had it where we've lost, where people have blamed, I don't know, the keeper, midfield, striker for missing whatever. Do you know what I mean? I didn't feel like that against Coventry. So coming into Preston, I was still positive. And I'm, me, I make fun of stats and all that sort of thing. So, and I don't really get that we haven't won there in 15 years because we've got, never mind a different team 15 years ago, we've had a different team the last 3 months. So to take a result like that at Preston, I thought was fantastic. I was positive. It wasn't the best game, but it doesn't matter, does it? I think we can be a bit choosy with us going, well, we weren't the best game or we're a bit crap. We just need the points. And I'll be as blunt as that, we do. And we can say it's a shit game. I'd love to. I'll tell you what, and I don't know, obviously, people, but I'll say I'll take a crap game, every game I go to now, and pay money to see, as long as we get 3 points and we are 1 goal above relegation at the end of the season. I will. I will.
How many games last season which we were winning with crap at the end of the day, and and that ended up with us going up. We weren't the best footballing team ever under Darren Moore in points. So you're exactly right. We've walked out there, felt like we've won the World Cup, and it's 3 points, and it's that 3 points hopefully closer to safety.
Now we've had a comment there. Let's talk about Cardiff actually, because there's going to be some contrasting opinions on this, I think. So Holly from the show. Hope you're all right, H. Fair play going to the game last night, by the way. It was a total crime that we lost to Cardiff. We were loads better than them. I'm reading it in a voice in my head. We were loads better than them, and actually we were going to cry for us to get a point. can't believe we lost. But we'd struggle against the other two and beat them, so 3 points either way, which, you know, kind of like...
It's like you were in the room, Ollie. It was like you were actually there.
Like, yeah, right? Like, so I guess what she's saying is, out of the 9 points available over the Christmas period, we got 3, but not the 3 we thought we were going to get. Now, we're going to have to talk about Cardiff, Simon. So, you know, they weren't great. They didn't really offer much, but they still managed to score 2 goals. Now, there's been some debate. Now, listen, we're not going to fart around the poo. Cameron Dawson dropped his ass, right? But there's been a bit of debate on whether he dropped his ass on both of them or whether he was just at fault for the OG.
I don't think it matters. I think it's done in it. I think you're going to get done for lambasting Dawson at every opportunity, Daniel.
The problem is your keepers, your last. We've talked about this so many times over the last since Wembley. Really, is the fact that your goalkeeper's the last line of defence. So there's always somebody to blame before that shot comes in. Somebody's not done their job for them. Somebody to come in and put a fire, to fire against them. But I do feel that on both occasions he could have done better. Which, in all intents and purposes. Norwich game, which you didn't discuss, the goal, he should have done better. There's many games he should have done better. My opinion is he isn't a championship keeper, and I'll stick by that. But there's been mistakes or people haven't carried out their jobs correctly to end up with him being the last man.
There was a good element of that. We spoke a couple of weeks ago before, didn't we, about saying that the goals we seem to concede tend to be personal mistakes, and that's where we are. And there's always that thing that goalkeepers have got, that if they have to make a save, somebody's fucked up further up the pitch, right? You know what I mean? It's as simple as that. But I'm kind of going somewhere with it, because I think, Ash, you said something along the lines of, there was a few times last night, Cameron was pretty solid. Right, and I think he did really well when he was called upon. But was he really called upon and did the things he do last night just count as being a goalkeeper, and it's kind of bare minimum? Does that, let's discuss. I'm not falling either way.
No, I do. I think we all know where Danny Rule stands with Cameron Dawson. There's something either going on behind with Vasquez and him only playing 9 games, and he won't play 10th because of some contractual things in there, or whatever it is. But he's sticking with. So I don't think us discussing and keep nitpicking at it is the best thing, because we're just highlighting and things. But yeah, I saw last night that obviously he did his job without having to make a save, which that's his job. I mean, we have seen him before, and yeah, he did well. He claimed everything. He didn't shirk any sort of catches or coming for the ball. So yeah, for me, he did good. And if we're gonna lambast him at every opportunity, which you seem to love to do, Daniel, then we'll praise him as well, because But was it because he didn't have a shot at him that he could spill, that he didn't fuck up, or was it that them in front of him did a great job, which Michael Inekwe's probably had his best game in a Sheffield Wednesday shirt since he signed.
Listen, well, I tell you what, look, we'll get to Inekwe, because I thought he was absolutely stellar last night. I genuinely thought he was brilliant. Don't forget, if you want to get in touch with the comments, I want to know your thoughts on Cameron Dawson versus Cardiff against. Oh, here we go. Expectations: Cardiff should have been a win, but I would have taken a draw. If it was Dawson in the mindset at League One, when we're on that incredible run, Dawson would have made the schoolboy errors. Maybe he would have done. Maybe. Thank you, Adam. Thank you for getting involved. There's an element of that. But I mean, Stevie, where do you stand on it, pal?
I think the thing that I've learned this season from watching Cameron Dawson is there's been many a times when he's made a mistake. Or people have sort of pointed the finger and goals against us have been attributed to him. I've kind of looked down the other end of the pitch and thought, bloody hell, if their goalkeeper had been at our end, would the same goal have been conceded? Would the same thing have happened? If that makes sense. The standout was I thought Begovic, I know he conceded 2 at QPR, and I've been watching a couple of the QPR games. He absolutely dominated his area. I thought he was, at their end of the pitch, I think. And I think that's the thing that we've got to bear in mind is, you can go back and you can debate the merits of whether it be contractual, whether it be a personal favourite that Danny Rule has got, and he's favouring Dawson over Vasquez for whatever reason. I personally think, and I've said this previously, I think you can slide a piece of paper between the two of them, to be honest with you. And the reason that he's playing with Dawson is that Dawson probably communicates better with the back line than Vasquez will. And I think that that's the only thing I can think, is that there may be some sort of language barrier that means that Vasquez is not getting in. I don't know. We've talked about taking the goalkeeper out the firing line last season, and Darren Moore got absolutely hammered for doing that when he put did he put Stockdale back in, if I remember? He took Dawson out, put Stockdale back in. Stockdale weren't great at Fleetwood, Cheltenham, somewhere like that. And then we ended up sticking him back in, and everyone's well, that's cost us promotion because Darren Moore's done this. And yet there's a clamour online for us to do the same thing now and just try and take the heat off Dawson a little bit. I think if you listen to the manager last night, one of the first things he said in the press, the snippet that Rob Staten got, he talked about, I can't remember who the other player was off the top of my head, but the first thing that he said, he literally went, I know the goalkeeper's had some critics, but I thought he was excellent tonight. And that tells you where he is. He's not stupid. He knows what the situation is goalkeeper wise. We're dealing with what we're dealing with. And the interesting thing will be second week in January, when we're looking at what sort of business we're doing. And that's a conversation for another point, isn't it? It's almost a podcast in itself, talking about transfer targets in the next month or so. And that's everything that we've been waiting to get to. But for the time being, it is what it is. I thought Dawson was very good last night. I think the basics that he needed to do, he did.
He did need to do the basics, but this thing about pulling him out to protect him, I couldn't get a toss. Just stop the ball going in, and you know what I mean.
No, mate, I totally agree with you. That's the thing for me. You can't have it. As a fan base, we can't say one thing one year and one thing 1 month, and then say exactly the same in a different scenario the next time round. What do you want? Do you know what I mean?
Every time Cam has a good game, there's always tweets that say you can slate him when he's had a bad game, but you've got to give him praise when he's had a good game. And then every single time that he's perceived to have been having a good game, I get tagged in those tweets. I get I get atted in every one. I wonder what Dan Fudge has got to say about this. Listen, if Dawson's been shit, I'm going to tell you it's been shit.
That's just Holly.
Yeah.
What are you going to say about that, Fudge?
Getting dragged on the internet. Christ. Right then, listen, Ash, I'll come to you about Ihekwe in just a moment, but Simon, you were there. I've got a visual aid ready. I'm going to talk about statistics. 31%. Now, as much as they had a big push towards the back end of the game, it wasn't too dissimilar at half-time, the possession statistics. I mean, that's one of the lowest ones we've had under Rule for a while, but our shots were significantly better at half-time. But the encouraging one there is shots on target. We got more than they did. So what it means is that given their push that they had for the entirety of the second half, came to nothing. It's superhuman defence, right?
I think it was very formulaic, the way they played, very much down the wings, particularly on Paul Valentin's side. I think the guy on that side, I don't know what his name was. I'm sure the other two guys will know his name. Miller. I mean, he looked their outlet, really. Somebody would get the ball in the centre of the park, have a shot. That's why they've got 9 shots, but it was literally blazing high into the crowd. I thought at home they were very two-dimensional as well. They were a team that always, scores 1 goal and then hangs fire for it. Us getting that goal through Marv was, I think, took the wind out of their sails, and then their game plan was get it down the wing, cross it in, get it down the wing, cross it in, get it down the wing, cross it in. But really, they didn't have the people in the box to convert. And like you said, Ihekwe was just immense. I mean, he said in the interview afterwards that he was probably going to have a headache because the number of balls he headed, and rightly so. It was that way. And we just dealt with it. We dealt with it. And there were bodies on the line. I think Palmer went in, intercepted when one of the guys was through. You bring in Ched Evans on and a guy who hasn't played in since last January, neither of who sort of have height or stature to sort of win balls and score from the type of football they were playing. There was really only ever going to be one winner, and that was us. They didn't have a plan B. Ryan Lowe's plan, to say he was a diminutive striker who used to get the ball at his feet and run at defences, and he was also that guy who was sort of back post, sort of poacher. They didn't play that kind of football.
It was a bit Sunday League, wasn't it?
Yeah, and Miller ran out of ideas in the end, and despite turning pole several times, it came to nothing.
Go on, Steve.
I've got a question for you then, Si. Do you reckon that there are managers and people that are setting up that we're sort of catching on the counter, in the sense that they look at us and go, we'll walk this? And Ryan Lowe didn't have a plan B because Ryan Lowe didn't think he'd need a plan B. And that, there are certain teams that are now at the moment going, we're going to get the better of these.
Without a doubt. I think there's been a few teams that we've taken on this season who we beat or drawn with. I think Leicester was one of them, where I think they didn't actually do any homework on us because they thought they're at the bottom. They were bottom. We broke the record in number of games lost. They're on their arse. And our gameplay will work and we will win. And I don't think he did any homework. And the great thing with Danny Rowell is that he will change it up. We've all seen it. We've seen it at every game that he's managed now, that if we're up against it, I mean, he did it against Coventry. He changed it up. He did it against Stoke. I mean, that it resulted as winning it. At one point, I think we had 4 strikers on or 4 attacking players on.
Yeah.
And then on, obviously the sending off of Byers didn't help, but he changed it up, brought back in Sanon, made it more defensive. Obviously with the injuries we got, brought Palmer in, played him centre defensive midfield. He has that ability. He reads the game, and you can see that with his after-match comments. He's very analytical. I think
he's sexy as well.
And I'll keep that. I'll leave that one with you. And it to me. No, you're absolutely right, Steve. Ryan Lowe did not have a plan B because I think he underestimated us. Simple as.
Good turning up in his pristine white trainers at Hillsborough at the early part of the season and playing a shitty game of football. Now, listen, as Ash says on the banner across there, make sure you get involved. I want to talk about now who your big players were in that Preston game. If you want to pick me a man of the match out there in internet land, let me know who you think. Now, Ash, you mentioned Ihekwe earlier on. Do you feel like he was your one?
I think he was I think he just was the outstanding candidate amongst probably 4 or 5 players. But like Simon said, he just seemed to be all over the place, and not in a bad way either. Just where he needed to be for cutting out the balls, heading ball. I think I did a picture last season with Aidan Flint heading a brick, and it was very much the same of Ihekwe against Preston. To say he's not played that much either, he seems to be out of favour, but not out of favour. He's obviously been picked because Bambo got his red card and he's going to be out for 3. So he's obviously been picked then. But then he hasn't always come in, because we rested Deshaun
Bernard.
A couple of weeks ago, and he didn't come in then. So, but then is it because he is that central of the 3 defender? He is the one that will come in for Bambo. He's the central when they play 3 at the back. I don't know, but people have said he's not a championship player. I don't know if think games like that are going to change the mind with him, or if he's always going to be labelled as a League One defender. But he's not done himself any misjustice at all with that performance.
Has he ever?
And it is good. And it is.
Has he played in the Has he played in the Championship, Ihekwe?
Yeah, with Rotherham, didn't he?
No, because he signed for us. Rotherham. Oh, he probably would have done before Rotherham came down. Previous time. Yeah.
I mean, interesting one. So, but he was a standout player for you, though, Ash.
Yeah.
I think that the thing with Ihekwe, and I'll say this goes back to the rule horses for courses, and I'd question whether or not he's been put in because it was a style of game and a style of play. that it would have suited his game more than certain other games, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So,
like Simon said earlier, it was a bit basic. It was a bit 4-4-2 Sunday League, wasn't it, the way Preston set up, which might be Icky's game, right?
Yeah, exactly that. So you're going to go in, they're going to toss balls into the box. I'm going to head it clear. If we're going to go and play against somebody who's going to be a little bit tricky, ball at the feet, running at a player, trying to get a centre-back turned, maybe that's not what Ihekwe is. But if we're setting up against a team like Preston that are going to be stand-up, pub teams a disservice to a professional football side, isn't it? But they're the championship equivalent of, dog and duck on a Sunday, aren't they? And I say that with the greatest respect because they're all professional footballers that can play better than we can. But at the end of the day, we're not. Maybe not you. we're not dealing with the top end sort of Leicester's, Southamptons, those teams that have come down. I'd be not interested, but I'd wonder how he'd perform against somebody that's flying at Leeds. Is it Pirro, that kind of player, that sort of lad? I'm not sure that Danny Rule would think that he's the man for the job at that level. So it's a calculated risk, but at the same time, his hands forced into it. There was nobody else he could put in, but we are where we are. But fair play to him. He's been given an opportunity, and I'd like to think now that off the back of that performance, he's given him something to think about, hasn't he?
Yeah, I like it. Now, Simon, you were there repping the pod at Deepdale yourself. You could probably see a lot more movement, can't you, when you're there? Was there anybody else stuck out to you?
I still think that Cadamatri, despite him not getting on the score sheet again, looks to be a fantastic prospect for the future. I mean, his
movement is outstanding, isn't it?
His contribution to the goal, winning the header, then the ball through to Marv was just, and he's an 18-year-old, and I thought he was very good while he was on. I think he's put a tweet on today saying he did 60 minutes, and he's absolutely knackered. He's 18. Christ, I would have done 6, and I'd have been done.
My favourite thing was his dad popped out a tweet today that was him getting a massage in his dad's front room, and he went, "What the fuck's happening here?"
I think he probably still lives at home, bless him. So I thought Marv was very good. I thought Marv, Dijon Bernard. I mean, Steve calls him a Rolls Royce of players. He's a superb signing. We can moan about some of the signings we started at the start of this season, but Dijon Bernard was superb. Palmer, when he came on, was again, dropped him into that defensive midfield where we played in towards the end of last season. Did what he had to do. He was a 7.5, 8, 9 out of 10 player. You get with Palmer, and he seems to be getting his form back as well. He was misplacing a lot of balls at the start of the season, but he seems to be getting that form back. It's a few people have picked on. Gassama. Thought Gassama was absolutely superb as well. Thought it was really good. But Musaba was awful. So it was like you either get one who's not great, or he looked like a lad who just won the prize to play in a championship team, and he'd got, there you go, here's a shirt. He was just a shadow of the player we've had previously, and I don't know what's going on there. We all have a bad day, don't we?
What were you going to say?
I was going to say. I was going to say it was like an overall thing as well, I think, for the team, because obviously losing 2 players early, for Maywo or Famewo, however you want to pronounce it, I ain't got a clue. And was it Volks was the other one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Quite early on, up to 2 of them in 39th minute or something like that. And I thought you're always going to go in starting your first 11 to get 60, 65 minutes before making subs. And he made all his subs up to the 66th minute. So he obviously had the 2 early, and then he made 3 all at 1 at 66. And I tell you what, I think sometimes you can always look at the manager about making subs and look at it. And I know his hand was forced on a couple, but the 3 that came on in the 66th minute, I think it just. All right, I know we were back to the wall at the end, but I think it just added a little bit to the team to just disrupt what Preston were trying to do, because they did come out second half a bit handy, didn't they? Preston.
They did. They absolutely went at it as soon as the second half. I mean, none of what you were saying was What's this? What we got here? Ed's been on. Give Cam Dawson man of the match for last night for shrugging off massive recent criticism for confidently bossing his area while the crosses came raining in, and for figuring out in the second half you don't always need to play out from the back and give us all heart attacks in the process. Ed, I don't disagree with what you're saying, but we're not just dishing out man of the match awards. I want somebody who's played well here, brother. Like, you know what I mean? That's the equivalent of a bloody participation trophy. But
you asked all our women got 7 viewers for their match.
Don't take it personal.
Ed has come in. He's took time to write it out on his keyboard. Don't have a go at the poor lad. He's done exactly what you wanted.
Listen to Dan Fudge. All right, I agree with Ed. Everything he said there about Cameron Dawson's
That's what's pissed you off more, isn't it? That you agree with him.
Yeah, it's annoyed me. but bear in mind, right? Look at Cadamarcha and the way he moved around and the ball he paid through for Johnson. Or Johnson was absolutely bloody everywhere, and he still had half the pitch to run to slot it home. You know what I mean? That was impressive to me. Ihekwe must have, he went full on, dug out his inner Aidan Flint and headed everything away. Dawson played well. Gassama caused their fullback absolute problems. And whoever caused me the most amount of problems was the geezer who was doing the Preston commentary, who just mixed up everybody's name if they had a similar colour skin. I mean, this is normally that point in the show, Stevie, where I'd be going, is that racist? I feel it's racist. No, it's just piss poor planning. And it might be a bit racist. You know what I mean? Come on,
Mate,
you'd have to do your own work, right?
Absolutely 100% accurate, though. I think there was one point. There was one point where they confused. Was it Marvin Johnson, Will Volks, and Musaba? There were 3 of them had gone down.
I mean, all 3 of them look identical.
And it was like, yeah. Okay.
I mean, Will Volks. It's difficult to tell the difference, isn't it, between him and Musaba?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
One's got blonde hair.
On Will Volks, I think that chance that he had, I think Gassama did really well, didn't it, to get the crossing?
Yeah.
And Will Volks had a header that was only
described as
acres of space. and he just rushed it, didn't he? And he headed it and it spooned it high and right, well wide as well, weren't it? So I think, in hindsight, you're looking at them, and I saw it, and everyone saying those are the chances we've got to take. It's right. Everyone's right. We have, because at the minute it's chances for us are getting few and far between. They're getting more. Don't get me wrong, they are. But we've got someone up front who's in 18-year-old. Keep saying who's in some really good form. Obviously, we've got players around him. Musaba scored a few now. Gassama needs to get his first goal. And it's just missing those chances. And we've had, what was it, them stats, 6 on target, Dan, I think, something like that.
I will get you the stats ready, my friend. I'm just ready to go. Boom.
Yeah. No, 3 on target. We had 6 shots, 3 on target. So on target, we've had, but corners, 0. So we don't need to talk about them from the last couple of games, do we? It was a header that was for a professional footballer. He should have got that on target.
He had all day. Now, Ash, please don't judge me. Now, Ash helps out with his show a lot more than the rest of us. It does all the work in the background. Now, I was recording a show just before we recorded this one, and I've completely forgotten what our talking points are for this show. We did try to do a bit of a rundown before we're going to talk about it. So I'm going to put you on the spot, Ash. Can you tell me what we're talking about next?
I have not got a clue because we are so professional and we have an agenda. Stevie knows. He does all that sort of stuff.
Of course, Stevie's the guy.
Pull one out of the air, Steve.
Yeah,
I'll tell you, what does anyone want us to talk about? Have a comment.
Everybody's scared now after I've just dismissed Ed's comment. Ed, I didn't disagree.
We wanted to talk about Backinson and Standard Liège.
Let's talk about Tyreek Backinson. What you fucking doing, son? Because every time I hear his name written down, it absolutely slaughters me, and Gaz's song gets in my head. Now, Tyreek Backinson has been linked by Fabrizio Romano, who very rarely gets it wrong, I'm told, about taking a move to... Was it Maribor?
Standard Liège.
Standard Liège.
Standard Liège. Oh, right. Yeah. So And they're not terrible, are they, out there? I mean, the level's terrible, don't get me wrong, but they're not like their shit team out there, are they?
It's not the best of leagues from what I watched earlier on this year. Sorry, Dan.
So when it comes to Tyreek Backington, who had the one good game at St Mary's, right? That we were there for, Si, weren't we? We watched it and we thought, he had a good game there. We were unlucky to lose that on penalties, and it was up against like James Ward-Prowse. And then I've seen him against teams like Cheltenham, and he was fucking rubbish. And then when. Yeah, and then when we signed him, there was a lot of Bristol City fans saying his attitude absolutely stinks. Maybe you can get a tune out of him. We haven't really. Does anybody really give a toss about this story? Like, I know it sounds. Go on, Ash. Go on, mate.
And not because of Backington. It's for what is coming up in the 1st of January, Daniel.
What's that?
So obviously people are sniffing around players at all different clubs. It's not like Backington's being on the front page of the Star, back page of the Star, ripping it up in Championship or anything, is it? Somebody's obviously agent-wise or sniffing around, looking at players. So we have got a raft of players that are eligible to look at pre-contracts in 1st of January. Mm-hmm. So I think this is a little bit of a
play.
I don't want to be a down or anything, but a bit of a warning shot to Sheffield Wednesday and the backroom staff, the owner, whoever is going to make these sorts of decisions, to say, look, there are people wanting players, sniffing around. So we know there is at least, there's lots, but we know there's one player that's only on a short-term contract that has been playing every game, who's a young prospect in Dishon Bernard. So
Are you suggesting there that it's Backington's agent that's coming in going, he's out of contract in the summer, just to let you know there are other people sniffing? Or do you think it's bigger than that and there are agents going, get ready? There needs to be some movement on these pre-contracts.
I don't know. I really don't. I don't know the ins and outs, but we all know it's a shady business, of course. But it's just that it's come out with a worldwide respected journalist, reporter, saying about this. So there is going to be agents, there's going to be people in the background, and no doubt our is it Keith? What's the guy's?
Beadle. Kevin Beadle.
Kev, that's it. I nearly said Keith Deller. Then he's a bloody darts player.
I met him.
And that's my issue. Backington, it's not worked out for him. He came on last night and it was all right, but there's nothing to really judge that to because he's not had many minutes. So if he frees up the 50 quid a week he's on and one squad space, then for me that's all right. But it's just the bigger picture, and that's the worrying thing for me.
But is it also maybe that we've got a recruitment? Obviously, he's called a recruitment director, but is he a recruitment and moving on director? Is he somebody who is actually going out to clubs out there he knows and says, I've got this guy. I've got this guy, because he knows we need to free up players for the 22-23 that we need, name. The guy is surplus to requirements, isn't he? He's sat on the bench the last couple of times. He came on because we needed him to come on last night. He hasn't kicked on. I think Moore signed him because I think he felt he could do something with him. I know he wasn't in Nigel Pearson's plans at Bristol City. So we've tried to take him on. Like you say, down at Southampton, looked like a good signing. Then was a proper letdown when we needed midfielders to help us out towards the end of the season. Him and a number of others. Looks lazy. Apparently Nigel Pearson called him lazy. He's something to get off the books. I don't worry so much. I do worry about other players, like you say, Dijon. Will Volks, is his contract due? Baez, the way Baez has been playing, would I be upset if he went? Obviously I would, but there could be better players out there. Is it a case of we're clearing the decks? Is it the case that we're letting people know we're clearing the decks?
Tell you what. Go on.
Just while you're formulating that thought, can I just... You say it's surplus to requirement, but if you look at the number of players that we've got out at the moment, we've got 11 players potentially missing on Monday with suspensions, with injuries. Backington got in, all right, whether or not he's been playing or not, he's in last night for half an hour. not on merit, because he was a necessity. I think he's not. I don't think he's surplus to requirements at all at the moment. And I think that's the stumbling block, or one of the stumbling blocks at the moment, is that we're looking at, if Folks is injured, we've got Byers who's suspended, and we haven't discussed the red card, and I don't know whether that's a 1 or a 3. It's going to be appealed or whatever it may be. If that's a 3-match suspension, that's him out till after Southampton, isn't it? Which will take you to the middle, if not later than I think that's the 20th of January potentially, unless we've got a midweek game. We need Backinson, or we need somebody that's going to come back. So that puts a spanner in the works in terms of the transfer activity that we're going to do. Everybody's pinning things on Momo Diaby coming in, and as good as he was, we've seen 53 minutes of the bloke. Backinson looked good at Southampton. Don't mean he's a fucking player. Do you know what I mean? And I mean that with the greatest respect. What happens if he comes in, to use Dan's phrase? What if Momo comes in and shits the bed?
I didn't realise that was one of my catchphrases, but I agree with you, Stevie, because if you think about like Paul Valentin against Middlesbrough, we never really saw that Paul again, did we? You think of Delgado for the first couple of games of the season under Chisco. Where's he gone? You know what I mean? One swallow doesn't make a summer, as it were. But I'm just looking through at the squad right now, and you take out a few of the first teamers, and you've got a list of people that may be moved on or looking to move on in January, right? So you've got players like Wilkes, Gregory, and then you've got Valentin looks like he's broke into the squad. Delgado, we haven't really seen. And then you've got Buckley and Hendrick. Are they still going to be there by the end of Jan? I'd be surprised if they are. Michael Smith seems to have fallen out of favour, especially now Kadamatri's turned up. Ashley Fletcher needs to just, bin. But one of the interesting ones for me is Reece James, because I like Reece James, but we've had 2 managers this season that haven't fancied him. And I can't. I'd love to know what the issue is. Like, why we own him now, right? He's ours. So why aren't we? You know what I mean? But in that list of players that I've mentioned there, 4 of them are loan players, and that will free up, like Ash says, a few squad space as well, which I feel is important. So I feel we might need to look at the loan market a lot closer to find out, where we go. But that's going to be. For a new season, for a new podcast in the new year. Ash, what have we got on the interwebs? Have we got some comments?
James O'Connell, he says, which I'm sure we all agree, he'd love to see us stay up. He just loves it. It by no means over.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. I think we are going to stay up. I feel like that Cardiff 3 points that we dropped was mega, and that would have made me feel a lot more comfortable with the way the season's panning out. You know what I mean? I feel like it's going to be in my craw a little bit. All right, Stevie, do we have anything else on the agenda to fill this last 10 minutes up?
I have one thing. If you
Ash is bringing something to the table, ladies and gents.
It's not quite any other business, but it's something you could think. We're running out of 2023, aren't we? It's I would say it's roller coaster season for Sheffield Wednesday. I'm just going to ask each one of you, and it's probably a stupid question, but probably best game, worst game, and player of 2023. That means
player of 2023. You're going to ask me.
That means all 2023, and one person hasn't played that much. So, Stevie, you're only going to be voting on like half the season.
Are the people at home getting involved in this one as well?
If they want to.
Too right.
Yeah, man.
What you're saying, best, worst, and player of?
Best, worst, and player of 2023.
Worst game.
Worst game, as in that.
Best game, worst game.
Best game, worst game. Obviously, worst game's probably 4-0 Peterborough, but not just there. It's like your own personal best game, worst game player.
Okay.
Is that all right? Is that good? Come on.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Go on then. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I don't know where you are anyway. So Simon.
Worst game.
Age before beauty.
Worst game would be to me Forest Green Rovers all day long. Forest Green Rovers and if ever there was a game where we went and thought alluding to Dan's comment earlier on about Ryan Lowe, if ever there was a game where we thought we were going to walk over a team and we didn't really need to turn up, that was the game. That was it. They were just, and look, it's that game and every single game that Cisco Munoz was manager. If we're gonna go for the new season, but definitely Forest Green Rovers. Best game. Well, there is only one, isn't there? There has to be only one, because if ever a team were dead and buried, it was 4-0 down after the first leg against Peterborough, and to come back and get it to 4-4, to then go down another goal, to then get the equaliser again, then it to me it's got to be the Peterborough game and no other. Sorry, the best, right. Right, so the first part of the season, up until after Wembley, the best player has to be Liam Palmer, without a doubt. It has to be. He had the season of his life.
So he's had the 2023 of his life.
Yes.
He's only played about 3 games this season.
The 2023 pre-start of the 23-24 season. I can't pick anybody. Probably Will Volks from there onwards.
The whole 2023 player, Simon.
It'd be Liam Palmer.
They are.
Despite being shite over the last few games, yeah.
What comments did I miss there, Ash? What was that one?
So Kevin said Peterborough best game in any season, to be fair.
Yeah.
It's a great shout, I suppose. I tell you what. No. Am I
not allowed to pick it? Were you going to take that off the table?
No. I was going to say something, but I'll save it for another thing. So Kevin said his best game's Peterborough second, worst Sunderland.
I don't think it was
a good shout.
Sunderland's
a good shout.
Yeah. Go on then, Dan, you next.
Okay. Best game. It's too easy to say the Peterborough second leg, but it really was genuinely outstanding when it I don't think there's any other answer to that, is there? Best player, I'm gonna say, and it's not gonna be controversial because of because I know LP2 really played well, but I want to say Cadamartri, just because of the way he's come through. He's got his nut down and he's absolutely just hit the ground running. And I know this is like, one of those award shows that says something of the year, and the most recent thing always tends to win it, apart from the goal that was, for goal of season, it's never one that was scored in January, is it? But I'm just really chuffed for him. And it should have been LP2, but I want to be controversial. And I also don't think he's been great this season, which is kind of, emptied his bank with us a little bit. Now, the worst game is... For those of you listening on audio medium, we've had a comment come through saying worst shout of 2023 is Dan agreeing with the Oxford penalty.
Ben is officially my best mate. I love the bloke.
Yeah, I like Ben. I love Ben.
I'll come back to that. But the worst game for me, like Ash said in the question, what was you personally? Because the worst game was probably Forest Green, all that first leg. For me personally, right, it was pre-season. We've just gone up. Everybody's having a great time, and I got pissed up, which may shock you, and booked a flight, which for those that know me does happen. And I went to Spain for 20 hours. Right, I got up there ready to get absolutely boshed up, and I met a load of men who live in Benidorm, who've got the same colour as those, those dark mahogany, same colour skin as those dark mahogany toilet seats used to get from B&Q back in the 90s. Like they all had that complexion. But I got there and I realised then, and looking back on it, I should have known that game was truly fucking terrible. In terms of having a night out, I should have gone back to Benidorm and gone there for 3 days like everybody else did. But I remember thinking at the time, this is really poor. But you think it's pre-season, so I don't really mind. But I remember coming back rotting, going, I don't even know if I enjoyed myself. You know what I mean?
Was that a 4-0 loss?
No, it was a 0-0. There was 0-0. I went to Spain for day. And for a 0-0 draw.
Who did we play? Who was it?
Real Murcia.
I watched it. Yes, I watched it, and it was just like somebody had put a camera up in the corner and put it on YouTube. And that was it.
Honestly,
it was awful.
It was crap. Now, Ben, listen to me. God damn it! Right, so I started to troll the internet for unpopular opinions. I thought I'm going to garner some opinions here, have a tear up, see if I can get away from the Cameron Dawson #1 fan club, moniker. Now, the Oxford penalty that Ben references there is the one where Firmino is on the floor and the strike and the striker goes into the back. Let's sit down, Fudge. Right. Does the striker make a meal of it? Yes, he does. Now, it's something that Ash was saying about the ban and sending off as well, right? Akin Firmino knew exactly what he was doing and where he was, and he put himself in jeopardy by making a nuisance of himself and putting him in front of that striker. And that striker's gone, I can't believe he's given me this. This is an absolute carte blanche. Watch this. Yoink! And that's what's happened. Of course it's a penalty. And then he went, I was on the floor. You knew he were there. We know what you were trying to do. Shut up, man.
I can't believe you're still doubling down on that, by the way.
That's the biggest load of tosh rubbish.
Absolute joke.
We've had...
anyway, moving on back to Ed.
I'll move it on. Ed's come back. His player of 2023 is Barry Bannon, the captain, for being Wednesday through and through, sticking with us through relegation and being the backbone of our getting back to the championship.
That's a nice little sentiment. He gets a lot of shit, Barry Bannon, doesn't he, on the internet? If he's not like a 9 out of 10, he gets slagged off a lot. That's like Ed, fair play, son. Fair play, even though your last comment can piss off.
Stevie, let's come to your. Let's start with your most favourite game.
Yeah, easy. Peterborough. For personal reasons, as much as the football, it was. The last year was a season of falling in love with Sheffield Wednesday from a little one, and we going down. She'd had a season ticket for a couple of games. A couple of years. So it was the second season of getting it. And the start of the season, we went to Peterborough and we lost when Reece James got sent off. Remember that? And it was a ridiculous. It pissed it down, and we were stuck in traffic going all the way down. Couldn't see coming all the way back. Exchanging messages with Speakeasy, who did the same sort of journey and ended up 3 o'clock in the morning jobber. And the moment we'd gone 2-0 down, because she'd not seen us sort of lose games before, she was in absolute floods of tears. I've got a photo of her stood at the bottom, ironically just in front of where we were for 4-0. Stood at the bottom of the stand there crying her eyes out, and she weren't much better.
Can we tweet it out? Internet loves crying kids. We'll get loads of likes for that.
Start a GoFundMe.
I'll ping it through.
Anyone? I'm joking, everyone, before we get slated.
And then just put a quote. Dan said that the penalty was a penalty, and then a picture of Molly crying.
So to get to, she didn't really understand what was going on, but as the game's gone on, it was important for us, and it was it felt like a sort of a seminal occasion, didn't it? Right from walking down, going into the fan zone, the build up, the first goal, when the second goal went in, that was it. You knew, didn't you? And just that moment at full time of getting on the pitch, and she was the one. She was like, right, Dad, we're on. So my 9-year-old daughter dragging me down the south stand, jumping over the hoardings, and then literally going to find as many people as she possibly could. I couldn't find Ash, and I couldn't find Dan. What I could find was Ash's lad.
Yeah, I ran into him. Lewis was like just doing the rounds.
Everywhere. Lewis was everywhere.
And I had Blair on my shoulders for a good chunk of that as well, because
you had your
lad with
kids.
We all took
our kids.
We all took our kids, and we all had somebody to look after, like the Make-A-Wish Foundation that we've got. Ash, that was a quality question, by the way. Have you done yours?
No, Steve, I haven't finished yet. Paula,
I'll be quicker.
Is saying which I'm assuming that means Molly and not you, Stevie. So
you never know.
Your worst
4-0 Peterborough.
4-0 Peterborough. And player, obviously.
Yeah.
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 Right. All right then.
Whoa!
Put him on mute.
Let me tell you why. But I don't need to talk about last year. He's had the season of his career pretty much. And all right, League One, blah, blah, blah. The thing that really sticks out is the fact that he's been dead and buried at times. And you know what? We wouldn't have done Peterborough 4-0 and we wouldn't have done Wembley without him moving into midfield. And for everything that happened, Darren Moore put his neck on the line and shook everything up and put Liam Palmer in midfield. And I'll say it, and I know it's bold, I'd be interested to know what Danny Rule does going forwards with Volks potentially being out. I know.
Just for the people listening to this on an audio, medium, Ash has just got himself his artwork there, which has got a graphic depiction. And when I say graphic, I mean it uses graphics as opposed to graphic depiction of Liam Palmer scoring.
Life. That's Steve's only picture of Liam Palmer with clothes on.
And Steve has got a signed picture of the celebrations of his.
No, he hasn't. No, Stevie hasn't.
No, it's to Molly.
Molly has.
Oh no! How does it feel to be jealous of your daughter?
Oh God, every day. But yeah, I just think going forwards, I know he hasn't necessarily had the rub of the green, and rightly so at times this season. I think he's got a renaissance coming, and I think he could potentially be the person that can step into that holding midfielder role.
I agree with what you're saying. He's seen off a lot of adversity in his Sheffield Wednesday career, because to have a player for that long, he's had crests and trough where he's been great, he's been maligned, he's been loaned out to Tranmere, and then he's come in and made the shirt his own, and then he's been out the team again, and it's actually impressive that that he must have the absolute mental strength of like a Roman warrior, but one whose face needs a good ironing. Ash, what about you?
I asked the question, Daniel. I don't answer them, so we can move on from me. But if you want to know, for probably I'm going to say Wembley. I'm going to say Wembley. I know that's purely because that was the whole weekend of being with you idiots, the kid, everything about it, just the whole atmosphere, the whole build-up, being so excited for it. Yes, I get the Peterborough thing. The Peterborough thing is by the time we got off the pitch, about 5 hours of a great football match, great atmosphere. But I think the whole weekend for Wembley, luckily enough, I went for 3 days. What a 3 days it was. For me, that was it. And to win it, how we won it, it wasn't a great match and all that. And we had the high of, obviously, the penalties. And then for Wembley for me, and it's Wembley, isn't it? And it was just something about the whole occasion. And yes, it was a League One playoff final, not a Championship playoff final, but so be it. Worst game, 100%, without a doubt, Forest Green Rovers.
I wrote that down.
When the fixtures come out, me and the lad sat down and we say, right, what games are we going to? We're going to go to as many. I've always wanted to go Forest Green Rovers. I was looking forward to it. What an absolute shithole on top of a fucking hill. And it wind, rain, live on Sky. Absolute never again in my life. I'm sorry I've gone off on that.
Ash, what pissed you off the most? The football or the big fucking hill?
Well, the big hill, probably. But,
so go on then. Who's your player then, Ash? I'm intrigued.
My player? I've never really thought about it, to be honest.
Because I tell you what, I remember you were a big advocate of George Byers last season.
I am, but he's gone off. Yeah, but he's gone off boiled, and I'm taking the whole. I'm not like some people who've only done like from January to May. I
picked the last 4,
and you picked the last 4 weeks. So I asked the question. I've not really given, but I mean, I don't know, to be honest. It's a hard one. I know I've put you guys on the spot and asking, but it would be a toss-up between, I don't know, Bannon and Palmer. It would be a toss-up between them two, just purely because, yes, and I know Bannon's probably even this season's not been at his magic best in the Championship, probably age and all other things, but some sparks he has played really well. Last season, even in League One, it wasn't always the Bannon show, was it? It was a very good thing.
But I think with those two players that you mentioned, Ash, consistency.
Yeah.
I think is what, some players had some absolute barnstormers in and out, but those two kept a really good level all season, right?
Yeah. I mean, Gregory last season, I thought in the game, most of the games he played were outstanding. It's a shame he's just not got it. Obviously, a year older, and he's not a player that the managers have took to whatever reason. But I thought Gregory last season, so it would have been, and the way he played in the Peterborough game, second leg, not getting on the score sheet, but his dummy for Reece James's goal, and then the cross, for Windass, was it? No.
Yeah, it was.
Windass. Yeah, it was. Yeah, Windass. Yeah. But anyway,
right.
but that's me.
Ash, you know what?
Right.
You caught yourself by surprise with that question, but an absolute great question. Listen, I'm going to wrap this up. We're 5 minutes past time, but we did have a comment from Holly, and she did say she's gone, where did you get such a handsome shirt, Fudge? Could this be from Le Tat Shop? This is from the Danny Rule collection, available on our Tat shop. We do have Tad available now. Ash, I'm going to ask you again for the fourth time today. Can you check me that QR code while I'm telling people to get on there? If the QR code doesn't work, ladies and gents, if you go onto our Twitter, we do have what's called a link tree. Click that, and it's number 1 on there, and it says Wednesday Week Tat Shop. We do have a sale. The QR code works, Ash, yes? We do have a sale coming up on the 3rd of January because the post and packaging, it does come from Germany. So I would recommend ordering a couple of items all at once. But if you get on there, take a look. All the money that gets raised goes into the community fund where Ash has to make colouring books, and we turn some poor, unfortunate kids into Sheffield Wednesday fans, which, if anything, kind of piles on their misery to some people. But, it's all about the familial sense, right?
Daniel, thank you. I would have put it a lot better than that. I think we do try and do some good in the world.
I tell you what, actually, Ash, why don't we recap some bits that we've done it? I'm going to leave that QR code up there for the people at home if they want to donate to the tap, but if they want to donate to the fund by buying some tap. But list some of your achievement, Ash. Pretend it's like a job interview and you have to talk about yourself.
Our achievements, Daniel, not mine.
Yes,
the podcast achievements. No, we took something this past year of thinking about it and everything and doing some good this season. So we've obviously through raffles and raising money however we can, everything that we have raised, and it is probably, I don't know, what we're talking, 600 quid, I think it is, something like that. And it is all being ploughed into, obviously we teamed up with the Women's Supporters Group who arranged for some of their members, because they did something absolutely fantastic last year. So to give back to their members, we paid for some of them to go to the game with their children, and they got little goodie bags and all sorts of stuff to keep them entertained while the football was rubbish. And then we've paid for people, some armed forces guys to go as well. And it's just, we've got other stuff coming up. So I'll put it out there. If anyone is, I'll say January, February is worse for everybody. And if anybody does fancy wanting to go to the game, and don't get wrong, we are not multimillionaires or we've got thousands in the bank or anything, but wherever we can help anybody, young or old, to be able to get to Hillsborough to soak it all in, then just get in touch with us by any means you want. Twitter, DM, Facebook, email, and just we'll see what we can do about arranging for that. Because that's what we're doing it for, and
it is.
That's it.
It is, and Ash, you're an absolute saint. Thank you for bringing that to the table. Because we spoke before about you being the ideas guy, and we've actually carried it through, which is really great. Listen, thanks a lot for joining us. Hope you have a great New Year, and for the last time of 2023, see you later.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport, powered by fans.
It's a goal! It's absolutely world class from Marcus today.
Johnson puts it in the air. Aidan Flynn wins the It's still with Lee Gregory. He's in the box. Tries to screw him. Is it going to be there?